The chamber was already simmering before she even stood. A low hum of restrained hostility vibrated through the room, the kind that felt less like politics and more like something primal, something waiting to snap. Papers shuffled, eyes shifted, and somewhere in the back a quiet cough echoed louder than it should have. Then she rose, slowly, deliberately, and in that moment the atmosphere changed. Not dramatically, no, it was subtler than that. It tightened, like a noose being gently pulled. Her voice, when it came, wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It carried a sharpness that cut clean through the noise, a calm intensity that made people lean forward instead of pull away. She didn't open with accusations. She opened with questions, calculated, surgical, and laced with something far more dangerous than anger: certainty. The kind of certainty that makes people uncomfortable, the kind that suggests something has already gone wrong and everyone knows it. Across the chamber, the Prime Minister remained still, his expression unreadable, but his fingers betrayed him, tapping, once, twice, then stopping entirely. The silence stretched just long enough to feel unnatural. And then the first strike landed. It wasn't about war, at least not at first. It was about decisions, quiet ones, late-night ones, the kind made behind closed doors where the consequences don't feel real until they are. She spoke of timing, of intelligence briefings, of whispers that turned into actions before anyone could question them. Her words painted a picture, not directly, never directly, but enough to let imagination do the heavy lifting. And imagination, when guided just slightly, can be far more terrifying than truth. The room shifted again, more noticeably this time. Some leaned back, distancing themselves from the tension, while others leaned in, drawn to it like gravity. There was something else in her tone now, not just criticism, but warning, the kind that makes you wonder what hasn't been said yet, what's still hidden beneath the surface. The Prime Minister finally responded, but his voice lacked something. Not confidence, not control, something else, something harder to define. Perhaps conviction. Or perhaps it was simply the realization that this wasn't going to be a normal exchange. Because it wasn't. It had already gone too far. Outside the chamber, the world watched. Screens flickered in living rooms, offices, late-night cafes. People who didn't usually care about politics found themselves unable to look away. Because this didn't feel like policy. It felt like exposure, as if something carefully managed was beginning to unravel in real time. Social feeds erupted, not with agreement but with tension, confusion, the kind that spreads faster than facts. And within that confusion, theories began to form, quietly at first, then louder. The narrative wasn't just about a war anymore. It was about intention, about whether the response had been measured or manipulated. Inside the chamber, her words grew sharper, more direct now, abandoning subtlety like a discarded tool. She spoke of consequences, not the obvious ones, but the secondary waves, economic tremors, diplomatic fractures, invisible cracks forming beneath what appeared stable. And as she spoke, something unsettling became clear. She wasn't just addressing the Prime Minister, she was addressing everyone, including those watching from a distance, including those who thought they understood what was happening. The Prime Minister's reply came faster this time, almost too fast, defensive, though carefully disguised as composed. He spoke of responsibility, of alliances, of necessity, the usual pillars, the expected language. But something didn't land the way it should have, not because the words were wrong, but because the moment had shifted. The room no longer felt like a place of debate. It felt like a stage where something deeper was unfolding, something less controlled. And then it happened. A pause, a small one, barely noticeable, but in that pause, something flickered across his face. Doubt? Fatigue? Or something else entirely? She saw it. Everyone did, whether they realized it or not, and she pressed forward, not louder, but colder. Precision replaced passion, each word placed exactly where it would do the most damage, not emotionally, but psychologically. Because the most powerful attacks aren't the ones that shout, they're the ones that linger, the ones that make you question what you thought was certain. And as she spoke, a quiet realization began to settle over the room. This wasn't just about a decision, it was about trust. And trust, once fractured, doesn't break loudly.
It fractures silently until it collapses. By the time it ended, nothing had been resolved. No clear victor, no definitive answer, but something had changed, subtly, permanently. The chamber emptied slower than usual, conversations hushed, fragmented. Outside, the narrative continued to evolve, shifting shape depending on who told it. Some called it accountability, others called it opportunism. But beneath all of it, there was something deeper, an unease that refused to settle, because the questions raised hadn't been answered, not fully. And unanswered questions have a way of lingering, growing, reshaping perception long after the moment has passed. Somewhere, decisions were still being made, quietly, out of sight. And somewhere else, people were beginning to wonder whether they had ever truly seen the full picture to begin with. Because sometimes, the most disturbing realization isn't that something went wrong, it's that it might have always been that way, and only now someone finally said it out loud.